Absolutely.
I'm here to please.
You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
You ready, Pat? Trustee Guerra.
Here.
Trustee Calandrello.
Here.
Trustee Carroll.
Here.
Public safety approval minutes.
Madam Chair,
Trustee Carroll.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee of January 7th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance amending Title VI, Chapter 10, Section 2 of the Orland Park Village Code.
Madam Chairman, this is a request to add another violation to our impoundment statute for those vehicles traveling a minimum of 26 miles over the speed limit. This is in direct relation to the completion of LaGrange Road, particularly north of 143rd Street. In 2018, we ticketed 22 cars exceeding 26 miles an hour, which means they're going as fast as 71 miles an hour, which, as in our discussions, that's faster than you go on the expressway. And we ticketed 84 vehicles going 35 miles over the limit, which is 81 miles an hour. So we have a serious problem northbound on LaGrange Road. I've stopped several cars doing in the high 80s on that road, and we need more. Our enforcement isn't bad, 106 traffic stops there, but we're not having the proper effect. So the only way I see is to impound these vehicles on these reckless drivers. And as you said in our discussions, 70 and 81 miles an hour is faster than you're going on Interstate 80. And there's a high school down towards 131st Street. There is some residential, on the, as you go by on the west side of the street. So this is really egregious, and because of it, we're asking to make this an impoundable offense.
Is there any questions from anyone in the audience? From the committee?
Madam Chair,
Trustee Carroll.
if I could ask the chief, this is just to the administrative impound with the fine, not a Chapter 36 seizure, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Trustee Calendar? Questions?
That's okay. I just know that there was a recent change in law, 3 years, Mike, making this a Class B or above. So it kind of fits with the legislation we've changed, actually because of an incident in Orland Park where 26 or over is now actually a Class B, and then 36 is an A. So
Correct.
Kind of follows the change of law recently.
State's attorneys, we still look at it, state's attorney.
State's
Good thing
attorney.
is we defense attorneys to keep them in line.
Anyway, with that, Madam Chair,
Trustee Calendar?
I would recommend to the village board to pass an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Title VI, Chapter 10, Section 2 of the Orland Park Village Code in regard to the seizure and impound of motor vehicles.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
An ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 3, Section 9-3-5 of the Orland Park Village Code.
Madam Chairman, this is an amendment following state statute that calls for anyone under the age of 18 to also be responsible for child restraint. There are drivers 15 years of age now, of course, who are with permits, and they are responsible the same as someone 18 or above who's in possession of the car to make sure children are properly restrained depending upon their age and weight.
So when you say 15, you mean driving with a licensed driver?
Oh, yeah,
You're not-
licensed driver.
Things haven't changed that much, right?
No.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? From the committee?
Madam Chair.
Trustee Carroll.
Chief, does this, it looks like it does from what I'm seeing here, does this encapsulate that same new change about the rearward-facing seat? Is that all in this too?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Any other questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair.
Trustee
I
Carroll.
move to recommend that the village board to approve an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 3, Section 9-3-5 of the Orland Park Village Code in regard to seat safety belts and child restraint systems.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 6 of the Orland Park Village Code.
Madam Chairman, as you know, over 10 years ago, or about 10 years ago, we passed a crime-free rental housing ordinance. That ordinance had to be reapproved, at which time it was revetted both by ACLU, the Shriver Center, and others. This is an ordinance for crimes committed on property that is privately owned. It is similar in a sense to crime-free rental housing, but dissimilar in many ways. Rental property, of course, is a business. They collect rent, they pay income on the rent, they depreciate property. This does not allow for inspections, crime-free lease addendum, registration, or does it allow for ordinance violations? But if you commit 2 crimes, which are listed in here, in 60 days or 3 in a year, it then allows the chief of police to send a letter asking them to abate the nuisance. For example, drug dealing out of a home. I can tell you what it does to a neighborhood. The moms and dads are afraid to let their kids out. All sorts of things happen late at night, in the middle of the night. People arrive in those neighborhoods that you probably wouldn't want in your neighborhood. Manufacture of meth, things of that nature, possession of guns, violent crime, home invasions, things of that nature, where oftentimes it's because of what they do that these things take place. So it does not allow, it allows us, if they abate the nuisance, fine, we go away. If they do not abate the nuisance, then we can go to the Circuit Court of Cook County to ask them to present our case. Of course, the owner of the property is entitled to counsel to abate the nuisance. And it can include fines, and it can include making the people leave the home for a period of time up to 180 days while that nuisance gets abated. It would not be, our crime-free rental housing, I think, has been almost a model ordinance. It's been, vetted quite regularly. This is to keep our neighborhoods as safe as we can when people simply ignore the fact that they have to keep their property crime-free as well, and allow people to be on their property or the owners themselves to commit crimes. Back in October, I believe I sent everyone a copy of this ordinance when it was created, and we've been examining it ever since then, and we thought it was time to bring it to the board for your discussion and approval.
I think it's something proactively, making our neighborhoods more secure, and families in Orland Park, this is a family community, so.
The list of crimes is on page 3. It does not allow for ordinance violations, differently than crime-free rental housing. These are actual crimes. You can see the drug crimes, public indecency, sex crimes, prostitution, gambling, discharge of fire, mob action, disorderly conduct, UUW, and things of that nature. So we're talking about significant crimes here that occurred in the neighborhood. But the property owner, all they have to do is abate the nuisance. They'll get a letter from our crime-free rental property inspector, will become our housing czar, so to speak, to abate the nuisance. Tell us what you're gonna do. If they give us a good program, thank you very much. On the other hand, one of the complaints we often get is drug dealing. We work on it, generally make an arrest after a significant amount of surveillance. And if it doesn't happen again, fine. But if it continues to happen, we need a tool in the toolbox to put more pressure on these people to correct this problem.
I think some of these things as listed below, are things you don't even want to consider could possibly be in Orland Park, let alone continue. So if we can stop them if they occur, great. Are there any questions from the audience? From the committee?
Madam Chair.
Trustee Carroll.
I do know, Chief, how much work you and your department put into getting the crime-free housing ordinance to pass muster involving ACLU and other experts. Do you know of any other municipalities that have undertaken this type of an ordinance, or have you talked to any outside experts for this other than our council?
I have not, other than our council.
Okay.
I believe, Trustee Carroll, that there might be a county ordinance similar to this, but I have not.
Okay. I like the idea. I think it's, the only one I could see some possible pushback on is underage consumption of alcohol. But again, it's got to happen twice within 60 days or 3 times within a year. And even then, if you send that letter and the parents come and meet with you and they understand the gravity of the problem, they take steps to rectify it, there won't be an issue. So I'm willing to take the chance on it.
As a former policeman, you understand how crazy this can get if you have underage drinking parties in a neighborhood, cars leaving, kids underage drinking. It's very serious. And then we read about the tragedies where a child drives away and kills someone. So it's pretty serious stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Any other questions?
Madam Chair,
Chair will entertain a motion. Trustee Calendro.
I move to recommend the village board pass an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 6 of the Orland Park Village Code in regards to chronic nuisances.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Disposal of certain seized vehicles at public auction.
Madam Chair.
Trustee Carroll.
I move to recommend to the village board to pass an ordinance entitled Ordinance Authorizing Disposal by Public Auction of Personal Properties, vehicles owned by the Village of Orland Park, Illinois.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Orland Square Mall.
Orland Square Mall. Is there anyone here from Orland Square? A letter was sent last week. I'll read it into the record. Mr. Simon, we met recently with your staff to discuss positive developments at Orland Square. Von Mauer committing to opening in the mall and Seritage making plans to expand on the mall and open a theater there. These are positive things. Some have changed, but nonetheless remain very positive for the relationship between Simon at Orland Square Mall and the Village of Orland Park. I'm writing to express concern and interest in mall policy regarding security and rumors that circulate regarding Simon's commitment to working with Orland Park to make Orland Square a secure, safe environment where our residents can feel protected as they shop the many retailers present there. The residents of the village are concerned about changes they see taking place at Orland Square, and I believe it is incumbent on me to seek answers and assure that moving forward there is a clear understanding of the relationship between mall safety and what is expected in the way of support from the Village of Orland Park. I'm writing to invite you to attend the Public Safety Committee's regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, February 4th at 6 p.m. in the Village Hall. If you are unable to attend, please feel free to send a representative of your choice. I look forward to an open discussion. Yours truly, Pacura, Trustee, Village of Orland Park, Chairman of Public Safety Committee. Now, I believe we got a response from the Orland Square manager on premises in the village that she would be out of the country and unable to attend. I didn't get a response from Mr. Simon or Mr. Vesper, who is he's a president and vice president of the mall. There was a meeting that took place. I was not invited. Actually, when I inquired about it, I was told I was not invited, clearly. And so my question, I have a number of questions, since I could not attend at that meeting. And, you know, we've had a lot of work going on with the village, and Simon, Von Mauer was an $8.5 million partnership with the village, with Library Board, District 230, 135, the Fire District. We all agreed to abate $8.5 million to help them get Simon as a tenant that will add to the mall and certainly help the village as well. It's a good partnership. Our village board worked together, Development Services Chair worked on that also with the mayor and the rest of the board to get that done. We were brought in to see AMC theaters coming to the mall. We were given tours at other locations to show us what would be taking place. They were going to expand at that end of Orland Square, extend that wing, and add more retail, they told us, and then add more restaurants, they told us, and AMC theaters would come in. Well, apparently they've changed their plans. The expansion is not happening, but the theater, as far as I know, and I don't know, is still supposed to come in. But today there was an interesting article, an interview with David Simon from the mall, and he mentioned some improvements going on a few of his nationally. And Orland Square was mentioned. Von Mauer moving in, no mention of AMC theaters. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If they were so convinced this was happening in Seritage, I would think they would be bringing that on as well. But the mall, it seems, after we've agreed to help them with Simon, or Von Mauer rather, after they've gotten the village to agree with the theater, and we've contributed a significant amount of money for helping the parking lot become more secure, with enhancing the lighting there. Now we can't get clear answers on what their intentions are to keep that mall the asset that it has become. I want to just stop playing games. I think Simon owes that to our residents, and it's unfortunate that I was unable to attend that meeting that took place last week in one of our facilities. And the only reason I can see that that would take place is because the information coming out can be controlled that way. There's no transparency, and that's what we need now, is transparency moving forward. So I look forward to perhaps at another time when the mall manager is back in the country from her trip. Perhaps she's willing to sit down with us and give us some reassurances that our money's well spent and we can look forward to a real partnership.
Madam Chair.
Trustee Kara.
I am somewhat happy that Simon's representatives did meet with the mayor, with Chief McCarthy, a couple of his commanders, Mr. Lamargo. And I'm very sensitive to the fact that when we talk about public safety at the mall, there are some parts of it that we don't want to have happen in a public meeting.
Right.
And so I'm cognizant of that. That being said, I kind of agree wholeheartedly with the other part of your sentiment, which is we owe it to the residents of this village to have a discussion openly, and we can be advised by the chief and by staff as to what areas that we should not discuss openly, but certainly we should have a discussion with them all. So I'm happy to see that you sent this letter out. I do know that the village president is in the room, and I don't know if he'd be willing to answer us whether he received any calls from corporate, because you said you got a response from, is it Nadia?
Yes,
Okay.
locally.
That's the local manager, but Mr. Mayor, did anyone from corporate call you after getting Trustee Garrett's?
They said that no one would be able to attend.
Okay.
Dave Simon was obviously in this meeting that was here, and Nadia was out of the
Okay.
But additionally, given the meeting that we had set up with the chief was set up for last Wednesday, but got moved back because of the weather, the meeting coming up on Friday was premature.
Right.
Those discussions in public session.
Well, in light of the public comments that we've all gotten, at least I've gotten them, I'm sure you all have as well. I got an email just this evening before I came here. And in light of the fact that they didn't send any representative, even if it had been their security manager or something, I would prefer, Madam Chair, if you would put this back on our committee agenda as not just a discussion item, but potential recommendation to the boards to look at a couple of things, if they don't show up. If they want to engage us in a discussion openly, that the residents could have access to hear, again, keeping fully aware that there may be some things that it's best that we don't discuss publicly. I think we want to take a look at, just like you mentioned, the AMC theaters. I know there are a lot of people in law enforcement nationally that don't like the idea of a movie theater at the mall. I didn't vote against it because I came in after they were done with their presentation that night, if you recall. I was late to the meeting, but I personally don't like that idea. Maybe we want to put on the agenda for next month's committee meeting the possibility of a recommendation to the board that we reconsider that idea. Number two, I know there are some things that perhaps we want to look at as far as business liability for events that could have been preventable. Not saying anything that happened recently could have been preventable, but I'm just saying we haven't looked at that. That could be something we might want to look at in the future. Both of those things, I think that you could work with staff on between now and the next date, and if you put them on as non-discussion items, let them know that if we don't hear from them, that perhaps we will take action on one or either of those items. Maybe it would encourage them to attend, because I do think that in addition to whatever conversations they may want to have with the mayor and staff, that they don't want the public to be privy to, there still needs to be an assurance from this board that we're doing everything we can, and from them, quite frankly, and that should happen in an open meeting. So I would ask that we consider putting those two items on as action items in the event that they don't want to attend next month.
Mr. Chiandrella.
I'll just be brief. I'm looking forward to having a conversation, transparent conversation with them all of how we can reset what happened at the mall. And again, our first responders did a fantastic job responding to the event, and it's nothing against our police force, against all the hard work we're doing, and we're making all this investment in the mall. I think this is a good spot to almost reset and rebrand, especially with Vernon Mar coming in and whatever the development of the old Sears property is. And as a past chair of public safety, and I don't want to get into all the details, but there's always been things that we would like to see that didn't come through for whatever reason. And I don't know if we should talk about that in public setting, but I'm looking forward to building a true partnership with the mall, and them following through with all their promises and keeping those promises for the security of the mall, and I think the rebranding of it. So That's all I would say at this time.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just one other point I forgot to bring up, and I agree with trustee Calandrello that our police department and the fire district did a phenomenal job. I mean, things as even small as our public works department and the recreation department bring out the buses to help relocate people from where they were staging. Everyone pulled together and did a great job. That's clearly not in question. But even a recent editorial that came out late last week said that despite the great public relations and spokesperson role that Deputy Chief Mitchell played, and I think he did a phenomenal job as well. I watched every channel that he was broadcast on. The editorial made a good point, which is that that's not enough to assure our residents and shoppers that don't live in the village that everything's being done that can be done. And so again, I think it's just imperative on us to have an open discussion that could be contemporaneous with any behind the scenes more classified discussion for anything that shouldn't be put out in the public about public safety. But I think we do have to have that conversation. I think that editorial was well taken, and we have to do our best to assure everybody that it is safe, just like Deputy Chief Mitchell said.
And I think as you repeated, the newspapers are all questioning whether or not a theater is a good fit there. And I have to be reassured that it is a good fit if it continues. But if it's going to continue, it's certainly on our side of that night and what's happened at the mall, I'm confident. Our police there's no questions there in their performance and execution. It's what's going on the other side in terms of policies and behaviors that we have discussed over the past. We want to make sure they're still in place. And the only way to get that assurance is from the management at Simon Mall. And they own it, they're reducing their business. I see they're down to 48% of their business now is malls. They're changing their models a little bit and walking through Orleans where we all want to enjoy that mall. And I know certainly I make my contributions to the local economy there. But I also want to feel secure in doing so. And we need that assurance from them and only them, and I think it needs to be in a clear and transparent setting. So, any other additions? No? Then we can go on to the next committee.
Parks and Recreation, approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Carroll.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Committee of January 7th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Centennial Park Soccer Field Pavilion.
Mr. Chair, this is a request to waive the bid process for the purchase and delivery of a 24 by 44-foot picnic shelter. Cost for the unit and the delivery is $26,000 roughly. The purchase can be made through the U.S. Communities Purchasing Cooperative, of which the village is a member. So that saves us time and goes to our high-performing organization mantra to streamline processes where we can.
So just one more time, Gary, so at least the members of the board in the minutes and for the next round, because this is going to be a question, why is it a no bid and what's the benefit of doing it that way?
Well, the units actually have been bid. They've been bid by
State.
the U.S. Communities Purchasing Cooperative, of which the Village of Orland Park is a member. So by utilizing the co-op, we don't have to go through the entire bid process, which saves us a lot of time and effort.
So globally, I just think it's important that we all understand and the inside the legislature, it technically does get bidded in the Illinois state. And then we're saving time and money as well, hopefully we flex that because that's always a question that's brought out in the legislative package.
And also the company that is providing this is our regional representative for game time playground equipment. So typically when we make purchases of that type of playground system, it's made through Cunningham Recreation, which is the regional representative for that product. But again, it goes to the village's motto of being a high-performing organization. It streamlines the process. It's already been done. There's no need for us to expend resources on doing something twice.
I'm all about efficiency. I want to make sure everyone knows that it's a good practice we're doing.
Mr. Chairman.
We'll make sure that that's reflected for the board item.
Just for anyone that is listening or that listens to this later, it's the equivalent of us getting one of our squad cars through the state purchasing contract. It's already been bid. State's done it. We're allowed to do that because we're a member of the state. Similar with this, we do it with our public works equipment all the time. We allow the state to do all the work, and we come in and reap the advantages of it.
Yeah, not uncommon at all for us to do that. However, to Chairman Calandrello's point. We'll make sure that we explain that clearly so anybody that may be reading the minutes or the staff report will know that it has been vetted and went out for bid through the state.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you know as well that the location of this will be very, very well received. This is going to basically be within close proximity to 4 soccer fields where there's no shelter now. So when our lightning detection system goes off, or there's rain or soccer camps, we have a large area now that a large group of people can stay out of the elements.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Carroll.
One other thought, and this is probably for Mr. Lamargo as well as anybody else. In the future, since we've been going, the clerk's office has been going with a little bit more abbreviated minute, now that we're live streaming and recording everything and getting it up online pretty quickly, maybe the motions moving forward should say, I move to waive the bid process and purchase through the blank, blank, blank cooperative. Put that in the actual motion itself, because the motion is carried forth in the minutes from the clerk's office. So anyone could look at that and tell immediately why we waived the bid process. It's not because we were giving it to our favorite vendor, it was a vendor that's been approved by the state or by the U.S. cooperative.
We can do that. We can make that adjustment.
Tracy.
I think it's a given that we know that the bidding is done properly and it's the best price we're going to get through that agency. So my question is, instead, it says steel structure.
It is.
So this is going to provide safe harbor in an electrical storm?
No, this is going to provide them shelter in a rainstorm.
Was it slats or is it really a wall? I'm just curious.
There's a key with a string that,
Is there something we could do to make it safe in an electrical storm?
I can check with our electrician, and you're an electrician. I'm not sure if adding the grounding rods to the structure itself would do anything.
You would do that regardless.
Okay.
You're going to be doing that regardless. So
There'll be
it is-
grounding rods added to the structure to reduce the,
Well, there you go, there's the answer. So that would be safe then for kids out there and,
Who knows what
well, I
could
mean,
really happen, but
relatively,
the,
the best we could provide.
safer.
you might want to look in the lightning arresters if that's what.
Yeah, that's my point, because as you say, you got soccer out there, you got baseball, you softball, you got it all. So you know if there's an electrical storm, parents are gonna take the kids there hoping to wait it out. I'd like to make sure.
Yeah, I will reach out to the village's electrician to verify
There you
what procedure we need to do for that.
And it's gonna be relatively, well, I'll ask that in the next one. Okay,
Do you have any more?
nope, that's it.
All right.
He's not using any kind of chemicals out there.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, with that, any questions from the
It was
audience?
a joke.
Questions from the audience, from the committee? With that, looking for a motion.
Trustee Calhoun.
Trustee Kara.
I move to recommend to the village board to waive the bid process and award the purchase and delivery of the Ultra Site 24x44 shelter to Cunningham Recreation at a cost not to exceed $26,376 through the, should we add that? Through the U.S. Communities Purchasing Cooperative.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Gavel, gavel.
Turkey trot and Great Pumpkin Party overview.
Yes, so this item is for discussion only. Is that something we should be concerned about?
No, I'm sure it's fine.
It's all good.
Oh,
Okay.
Secretary of State's getting a fax.
Okay. So what you have before you is a dashboard of our two events, Turkey Trot and the Pumpkin Party, and through discussion with Chairman Calandrello, it was a recommendation that we should bring forward an overview, just as a reminder of the past events that we've done, how they look, how they worked out, and just give you a general recap. So if you click on the Turkey Trot piece, you'll see, one, it was our 30th year this year.
Can you print them off so the press can look at them too? After the meeting? Thank you. Or not? Okay, got it, okay. Go ahead, Nancy, I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Nancy.
It was our 30th year for the Turkey Trot. New to the race this year was the Ravinia Turnabout, Ravinia Avenue Turnabout, which worked out fantastically with the event seamlessly. We had 922 participants who successfully navigated the new route. Thank you very much, Ahmad. even though it was a little bit of a chilly morning. In 2018, the race sold out on November 5th with 900 participants, and we opened it up to maximize participation to 22 additional runners. So we had 922 participants registered for that event. There were 36 race sponsors in 2018, earning $5,705 in revenue. You could see where it has budget revenue and actual revenue that we brought in more revenue than was budgeted. We were budgeted at $26,450, and we actually brought in $27,425. As far as budgeted expenses go, we were budgeted for $18,511, and we underspent, so we didn't spend as much as we were budgeted, so we only spent $15,343. So if you look at the net, the revenue and the green column shows that we brought in $27,425. Our total expenses were $15,693. So the revenue that we had left, our net income was $11,732. So this event is a revenue generator for sure. And again, built on the tradition of the past 30 years, it's a successful event.
So before we get any questions, this kind of spurred out of a discussion that the board's been having about kind of at budget cycle, we just talk about the events and then we have to digest 13, whatever, all the special events. So I thought it was, and I think maybe the whole committee thought it was be nice to kind of get updates or snapshots, almost not in real time, but as close as possible, so that we would know kind of, and it's not to show like, hey, we're making money on this event or that event, because again, as we know, Parks and Rec is not about revenue, it's about enjoyment and quality of life of Orland Park. So thank you for Nancy for doing this, and in the future for the others. So I think we kind of know going into the budget cycle, see what happened, so then we can kind of this refresh recollection. And I know that all the board members can review the snapshots going forward too. So that's always good. With that, any questions? I guess let's break them out. Any questions about the turkey trot?
Good job.
One comment, I imagine you noticed that Payless is discontinuing their half marathon. So they have not had the good fortune that we have and the success that we have. I wonder if that might spill over to Orland and even increase the demand.
We'll be ready for it.
Yeah, you will. You always are.
So, and Nancy and I had this conversation that it's always a tough, how many people can we have versus quality of the program, and then it's a very unique track, and how many people can we put through the forest, so to speak.
It would not be something I would be trying.
Well, it wasn't.
It's fun to watch, though.
It is fun to watch. My wife ran it. I did the stroller, so
Hey, good for you.
she was pretty fast too.
Well, yeah, she's
Put down the record, all right?
Well, and what was nice about actually having the roundabout was we pulled everyone back further south. So it gave more time for the people who are running to get to the end of the street, to thin out where you have that pin turn getting into the forest. So it actually worked out to our benefit.
good plan.
And Chairman, if I could please just add a comment that after every event, or as we're going through the budget, that Nancy and her team, along with finance, we all look through these events and we see how we can improve it or see what the actual costs are. But it's nice to be able to share this. So thanks for giving us the opportunity to kind of share some of our successes with the dollars that we're saving.
Perfect. Any other questions from audience or committee? Pumpkin party.
Okay, so as I said, $11,000 in net income on Turkey Trot as we move to the pumpkin party. I'm going to say that one more
Quality
time.
of life. Remember that. No matter what.
Okay, so again, the pumpkin party was in its 8th year and continues to be popular amongst our community members. We had estimated attendance anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 participants. Sponsorship revenue for 2018 was at $4,420 with 23 total sponsors. We also had in-kind sponsors as well. We continue to redevelop this event, as Joe just alluded. We had some new features this year where we sold alcohol, so that was a new revenue generator. And we also had new games. We had a new activity zone that was more engaging. We solicited parks to help us with creating a corn like jumpy area where the kids could have tactile use for those little ones. So it was really nice. The new additions to the event were very nice. So as you could see, the budgeted revenue for this event was $3,500, and we came in over budget. We brought in $6,688 in revenue, so that was great. The budgeted expenses for this event was $10,786, and we spent $9,767. So we did come under budget there as well. So you could see with the total revenue of $6,688 with the total actual expenses of $9,767 left us in the negative of $3,079, which was actually better than what we were budgeted for. We were budgeted to be $7,000 in the negative, and we were $3,000 in the negative. So we were able to shave off $3,000. So that
Less
was
than half.
pretty darn good. And that event is really getting legs too in popularity. So, what? Okay.
Yeah, it's 4,000. You didn't.
Thank you.
You didn't carry the one.
Sounds good. So what I wanted to also add, as Joe had mentioned earlier in staff meeting, an honorable mention, it was in the manager notes, but our volunteers, we couldn't do any of these events without our volunteers. And our volunteer software that we utilized had put together our numbers. We had 410 volunteers for the year. That total number of hours was 6,271 hours. That saved us, with staffing costs, $55,000. So a little bit over $55,000. So that's a pretty large sum of money that we have saved in staff savings, and we're pretty excited about that. We'll continue to push with volunteers as well.
I was ready to say that from a public comment, so.
Oh, awesome.
Slow my tongue, Nancy. Go ahead.
Comment I heard from Sandberg, I guess the Community Service Office makes announcements in the morning. The newest opportunities with the village in particular, and of course, recreation's always a hit. I noticed at Cinderella's Ball, I saw a few.
We
girls
had
there.
35 volunteers, and we're getting them not only from Sandberg, but from Stagg and Andrew as well.
It's good, great opportunities for them because we have a lot of students there that want to get the sheriff's award, and they work very hard for those hours, and we can certainly benefit from it. It's great.
Mr. Chair.
Trustee Carroll.
Yeah, I will just say, Nancy, I mean, this is a testament to what we talked about when we were approving the recreation guide and the programs contained therein. There was discussion about certain events that weren't doing so well and how you were changing the days of the week or the format or, different locations or whatever to try and see how it was going. And I think you told us at the time, if it were a loser 3 years in a row, then you would consider nixing it. But this pumpkin, well, the turkey trot's always been a huge success, but the pumpkin party, you improved it 40% in 1 year. That's a great testament to the new things that you did. So while it didn't make money this year, it certainly improved drastically. And I think we're on the right, right path between the sponsorship improvements and then the beer, wine, and water that we were selling. I think you're on the right path, and it just shows what a little tweaking can do to some of these events that are popular. And like Trustee Calandrillo said, it is a quality of life issue. You can't only look at whether we're making money on an event or not, but when we aren't making money on it, certainly we can try and do better, and you absolutely did, so congratulations.
And I just might add that, and just remind, I know the board knows this, but for anyone else might be in the audience, that these are free events too that we're providing to our residents, which I
Quality
think
of life.
really says a lot to Director Flores and her team and the board also for supporting these types of events as well. But
If I,
Oh, go ahead.
you make the comment that the turkey trot was always a success. Actually, it wasn't. I know you added the chips. People wanted the timing of, quality or component in this race, and then the shirts, the souvenirs, and there were a number of things that you did over the last 10 years that have brought, because I think it's been going on, was it 25 years we've been?
They're 30 years.
30. And 30 years, and I've never been in it, and it would never happen. But just the additional
I was
components
so young
that
when it
people
started, I
are
didn't know
looking
that it wasn't always successful.
That's of course. I crawled. I wanted to crawl the first few years.
I was born.
But new ideas, innovations, components, it all changed it, and it's a great event now to go there in the morning and see these crowds, standing there waiting to take off. It's really fun. I can't imagine doing it on a regular basis, but great for them.
I remember as a Trustee Calandrillo participated in the first turkey trot in his bassinet.
Did he
I think
now?
it's, or carriage or something.
I would have been 4. I probably was running, maybe, or walking.
Right.
Well, there you have it.
It's Tony Bennett shirt.
All right, I think this conversation is over. Any questions or comments from the audience or? All right.
Good.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Centennial Park double vault concrete restroom building.
Mr. Chair,
Gary, go ahead.
request to waive the bid process and purchase, for the purchase, delivery, and installation of a Toga Special Double Vault Concrete Restroom Building to CXT. We've included a couple options, which are a solar fan and solar lights in the building as well. This will increase our ADA accessibility in the same region as the new pavilion that's going to be going up at Centennial Soccer Fields. This is also through a purchasing cooperative. This is Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative, which you may know as NGPA. They've changed their name. Village has been a member of that for quite some time. Again, the high-performing model it's already been bid out, so there's no need to.
Sounds good. Any questions from the committee? Trustee Gare.
In relation to the pavilion,
Yes, ma'am.
where will this be located?
Roughly, there's a photo inside your packet on the last page. We're shooting grades as soon as we get some decent weather. It may be on the opposite side of that path that you see it on.
The attached.
There should be a photo there of the site with the pavilion. It might be in your pavilion attachment.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
There's a photo of the pavilion
I think
plugged in
it's-
there, and then there's another smaller.
it's a pavilion one.
I couldn't remember which one I put it on, I'm sorry.
I see. The smaller one, obviously.
We're shooting
same
grade to
color.
see which one's gonna give us a better elevation. We will in-house have to do a little prep work before it does come. It comes in a semi, and they've gotta actually crane it into place, so we'll have to remove some soil, put a stone base in to the builder's their specifications.
It's
It's
not-
exciting. I've been trying to get this
know you
for
have.
well over a decade. So,
We don't want to.
Porta-johns, they excite me, I guess. I don't know, but it's
But-
bulletproof. It's concrete.
That is a good spot too, because you got the dog park. I used to run there when I used to live in that area of town. and
It's very close proximity to 4 soccer fields, so it'll get a lot of use.
definitely
Should
because
it be closer to the pavilion or no?
Well, you don't want a porta-john too close to a pavilion. People are going to be eating there, so while they are vented and there are stacks that go above the people's normal olfactory glands, we will
Good point.
we will try to keep a little distance there.
All right. Any more questions from the committee? From the audience? With that,
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Carroll.
I move to recommend the village board to waive the bid process and award the purchase, delivery, and installation of the Tioga Special Double Vault Concrete Restroom Building to CXT Inc. through the Well Purchasing Cooperative at a cost not to exceed $35,675.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Finance Committee, approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee
I
Calendro.
move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Finance Committee of January the 7th, 2019.
Second.
Any questions, corrections, or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any comments about finance from the audience? Staff? Committee? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Back at 7.
Or no, Dan.